Alright, looks like we're recording. Gotta make sure, because you don't want to do a whole 15-minute spiel and then find out you weren't recording. So, just to say off the bat here, I feel like total shit. It was, my wife and I had date night last night, and something was not right in that food. And we've been jockeying for the bathroom all morning. Anyway, I finally dragged myself out of the house. I just needed to fucking get up and move around. But this is hard. Just to be outside. It's fucking bright. I'm all achy and my stomach hurts like crazy. But still gotta shoot. Still gotta record something. Figured it'd be a good time for a general check-in on what I'm doing, what I'm thinking. Just to, reiterate here what I'm trying to do with these videos. I'm just on I'm in a process right now where there's a lot of questions in my head, and this all relates to just, where I am in my life, what's going on. I'm married now, and I have a little kid, and I'm kind of at a certain point in my career where I feel like it's kind of commit to it or make the jump to something else. Own a house, and you kind of start throwing these things all together. Also, my dad died a couple of years ago, but it's the kind of thing. These are the things that are making me do a lot in the realm of just introspection, and well, it's a really good thing. I'm really glad that I'm doing it, and I'm already getting good things out of the process. But that doesn't mean it's an easy process or that it's smooth. For one thing, I might feel a certain level of excitement relating to what I'm doing and how I'm changing. But it's not always that easy for my wife. She has to put up with a lot of instability from me as I do this exploration. Asking questions of who I am and who do I want to be and what do I want to do and what kind of dad I'm going to be, and it's just the kind of thing that, it just stirs up a lot, and but I am getting some help with it. I'm so grateful for that. I just recently had a good conversation with one of the facilitators that was at that grieving ceremony weekend event that I went to that was just so amazing and powerful for me. One of the facilitators there is a men's coach. And I'm so glad that is a thing that exists, a men's coach. Hey, we didn't all get the perfect childhood that taught us everything we needed to know. Maybe that's how it's supposed to happen, ideally. But most of us didn't get that whole picture. And it's so great that somebody like this exists that I can go to, and this person, as a professional and as a person, they know what I'm going through. They can understand where I'm at in the process, what types of things instigated all these feelings, and what the likely hurdles are going forward and how to prepare for them, and how to just what tools are needed for a really capable life direction. Because you got to have the right tools. Especially with something like a personal relationship. If you're in a marriage or a similar romantic relationship that is complicated, and you're each dealing with the result of the childhood that you experienced. Like what kind of relationships were modeled to you? How did your parents interact with you, and how did your parents' issues turn into your issues? And so being able to be more aware of that and look at your relationship kind of from with a different eye, and less reactive, less just kind of animal instinct, and more curiosity. How to come at a relationship with more curiosity, more compassion, and clearer feelings and communication about those feelings. That's just my kind of random summary, but I'm really looking forward to fleshing out my own skill set in that regard, and for my wife as well. And I'm just looking forward to getting the benefit of that, because there's probably not much else in life that, if you improved it, would impact you more profoundly than the quality of your marriage, that kind of thing. Because if it's not doing well, that just weighs on every part of your life. Every moment of your day is affected by that. So I'm really excited to, or at least by the prospect of working with a men's coach who can help guide me through some of this, personal transformation and, you could say midlife crisis, and also help me out with my relationships. Excuse me. Oh, every burp is a little bit of a gamble. Same thing with farts. So, sorry, TMI. So I'm going through these transformations, and I like documenting it. I feel like there's something valuable about having candid thoughts on record. But there is a caveat there, and that is candid thoughts. It's tempting to think that being candid means being true. And that's just not the case. Candid thoughts are sort of like, they're like your unspoken thoughts, in that they aren't necessarily the truth. They aren't necessarily you. It's just it's sort of like a first draft you. And so things that I say on one of these rambling walks, they might be candid, but I could easily get done with a video, and then as I'm watching the finished video, just an hour later, I'll look at it and go, why did I say that? That's not really true. Like, I don't know why. No, that doesn't accurately reflect how I feel. That's entirely possible. And that's just the nature of speaking candidly, Like, it'd be nice if everything you said when you were being candid was true, but instead it's sort of like, it was just it just came out like that naturally, and hey, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But there isn't much of a filter here, and it's not like, some other mediums where you might have more opportunity to refine and reflect and have multiple drafts and all of that. So there's value in being spontaneous and candid, but it doesn't mean that it's closer necessarily to the truth. It's just a different way of communicating. Where was I going with that? Anyway, I like documenting how I'm feeling in this context and on this subject. And maybe it's because I like the idea of my son being able to follow some breadcrumbs of my own journey. Because that's, it's a beautiful thing, and I want him to feel like he's got someone there with him when he goes through something similar. Maybe he won't go through, the same stuff. I'm hoping, actually, that he doesn't. That if I'm half as good of a parent as I think I am, that I'll hopefully avoid a lot of the common pitfalls of childhood trauma and just kind of, counterproductive modeling and things like that. But, it won't be perfect. He'll have issues, My wife and I joke every time something happens to him, we mess up or he trips and falls or whatever, that we'll like put $1 in his therapy fund. It's not a very funny joke, but we acknowledge freely that we can't do it perfectly, and he will have his own issues that will be unique to him, and he'll have to figure it out. And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to figure out life. I'm trying to figure out me and my place in life. Isn't that a profound thing that makes us feel so alone, and yet if you're aware of everyone else doing it too, you feel connected and you feel like you're part of this, never-ending cyclical exploration of reality, God, why do I say so fucking much? Anyway. I love being consciously aware of the weirdness of reality, That makes me feel like I'm awake in life. It's not good enough for me to ignore the larger picture and the mysterious nature of life. Because it's wild. It's the most wild thing. It's the true mystery, what is all this? Okay, I don't need to go that far. But yet, right now in this video. But I am doing this thing of trying to be more aware of what I'm feeling and why, and what I can do in the future to see life better for what it is, and less about my unconscious, biases and filters and all of that, Maybe that's a good way of looking at it. Like I'm trying to get rid of all of these weird filters that I've built up over a lifetime. And they're, cultural filters, they're family filters, they're whatever. It's just all of this stuff that if you're not aware of it, then you kind of just think it's normal for everyone. And now it's nice to try and get away from that default, that personal default of yours, and to see things differently. That's partly why travel is so amazing, See life that is fundamentally different from yours, and see how people are fundamentally different from you, and also fundamentally the same. I realize my energy is pretty low here. My apologies, but I'm trying. It may not look like it, but I'm trying. So I'm digging in on this stuff, and I want to share my process of learning about it, and thinking about it, and hopefully also share with you the people that I encounter and those other sources that really help me move the needle, help me in change. Ooh. Right now I need to change how my stomach feels. Because the other people are going to be infinitely more interesting, you know, the people that are farther along on the journey, you know, that I like to think of it as like, you know, a map. I really want like a personal development map, you know, and in such a way that I can see where I am on the map, like the territory I've already covered and the territory that is still kind of mysterious and I haven't dove into. You know, thinking like almost like a video game map, like an old, you know, NES RPG or something where you're discovering the map as you go. But it'd be nice to see, hey, what territories have I not visited yet? What dungeons have I not explored on the path of personal development, you know, becoming a full human, whatever that is. And yeah, that would be the other thing I'd want to know, like what happens when you have, you know, explored most of the map, or maybe you can't ever explore most of the map. Maybe it's always just a little bit of the map, and so maybe you can't know what like finishing the game is. But I do feel like it wouldn't be a bad way of viewing life if you looked at it as an RPG, a video game map to explore, and not necessarily to beat it, but to say, hey, this is an interesting place, and I want to know more, and I want to leave the little small diameter, you know, territory that I've been stuck in for so long. I want to see more of the map, because when you find a new area, it's got, you know, new treasures to find, new weapons to use, new, you know, demons to fight. I like the video game analogy. I like analogies in general. It makes it easier to conceptualize something. And I like video games. It's been a long time since I really was into them, but as a kid, yeah, I spent a lot of time playing video games, and so they're definitely built into my psyche like that. I really love that. I think the emotional peak for video games for me was probably Zelda 64, the first one. I don't know if you're supposed to say Ocarina of Time or Ocarina of Time, but I always said Ocarina. That one for me really captured the sense of adventure and exploration and discovery, and I was at the appropriate age and the place in my own kind of video game life where it culminated with my enthusiasm for video games, my enthusiasm for exploration and fantasy and stuff like that. And so that was a high point for me for video games. And so I could think about this personal discovery and life exploration, all that, in terms of Zelda for the Nintendo 64. And in that case, I want to get out of my little home village, you know? Like, you have to, like, yeah, you got to do some stuff in your home village, and then you gotta leave. You gotta leave. It's just, it's not okay to hang around, you know? Like, yeah, it's pleasant, it's safe, it's easy, but there's a need. There's a need to leave your comfy village. And you know, I have to say, I do think that's a little bit more of a guy thing than a girl thing. I'm not saying it's wrong or anything if a guy doesn't feel that, or if a girl does feel that, but I think on average more men than women feel that need to go out and leave safety behind, like leave a known quantity in search of an unknown quantity. That's something that we feel. And maybe it's not helpful to gender that sentiment, but either way, some people feel that need, and I definitely do. Where as soon as I start to feel too tied down, where I start to know everything in my life a little too well, I know exactly what I'm doing when, I know that, you know, there's just less mystery, then I start to be like, okay, I need to change things up a little bit. Oh, excuse me. God, I'm walking so slow, it's gonna take me forever to get there. There being the butcher shop, actually. I need to go get some meat, because when you're on a carnivore diet, you eat a lot of meat, and so you go to the butcher shop a lot. And I feel very fortunate that we have an excellent butcher shop just a couple miles from my house, so that's awesome. So I think I will wrap up my ramble there, and I'm gonna keep thinking, and I'll probably record another video on my way back after I've had some time to I would say digest, but that word is just, it's too soon right now. I can't think about digestion. Alright, I don't know why you're watching this. Go do something more fun, more productive. But thank you, really. I'm glad you're here. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.